Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Longley's Line Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Longley. Remember to like, follow, subscribe on all of our social medias. Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, Lightstyle Studio for the studio here. And as you guys know, we always bring on different variations of guests that come all across the entertainment industry. And today is no different. Today, I have Bobbo from the band Huckleberry Road.
Hi, how you doing?
Thank you for being here. Before we get rolling on anything, go ahead and promote all your social medias, where you want everybody to find you, websites, anything.
Okay, yeah, you can find us at huckleberryroadmusic.com or Huckleberry Road Music at Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube.
Perfect. And the initial question I like to ask is, where are you from originally?
I am born and raised in Susanville, California.
Susanville, okay. And
Yes,
what
sir.
brought you out to Reno?
Well, I grew up playing music. I initially played saxophone from 3rd grade through 8th grade and kind of was like, that's not for me. I want to be a rock star and whatever.
Yeah.
And started a band in town. And as we, did our thing, eventually you realize that if you really want to play, you got to go to a place where there's really like an infrastructure to support musicians playing, And that's not to say Susanville didn't have it, because it did. We had the daily grind and we had a lot of cool stuff, but eventually all that's not there now.
Yeah.
And if you want to play and try to put something together, I mean, Reno might not be the best place in the country, but it's a city and you can kind of, and we have a good music scene here.
Yeah, Reno's kind of one of those hidden gems where people are like, oh, you mean Vegas? No, I mean Reno, because there's a lot of different creativity that comes out of here, from music to art to acting, whatever it is. And to kind of dive back a little bit, after you decide, I don't want to do the saxophone anymore, what instrument do you decide to pick up? Do you go bass, drums, guitar? Do you initially sing, or kind of what did you pick?
I wasn't much of a singer when I was younger. I was pretty scared of that. My cousin Sammy had a Strat and was showing me like Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest, and he was like, and you can read tabs out of these magazines, and like we started I'd go to his house and I just was obsessed. I wanted a guitar badly. So I actually saved my lunch money from my grandma and grandpa every day until I bought a crappy Sonic from this kid, Michael. It had a little tiny speaker in it and like a 9-volt battery to power it. And it would kind of tune.
Yeah, it'd work enough.
Man, it was enough to go to my cousin's house and start playing Breaking the Law,
Just in the garage, we know.
Yeah, my cousin introduced me to rock, and I was just so excited about it,
What, like Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, were those your biggest inspirations, or did you have kind of
Oh, man. Well, it was like Ozzy, Judas Priest, and then we liked Ozzy, Randy Rhoads era, and then, I know I'm saying the same thing, but Black Sabbath, and then I became a hardcore Metallica kid for years. I think most of high school I was all over Metallica, and then Avenged Sevenfold came out, and we were metal kids.
Yeah.
But eventually we realized, like, I can't grow out my hair. I'm going bald. I don't look good in tight jeans.
Yeah.
And I can't be a rock and roller, so I'm just going to be rock and roll in a cowboy hat, call it country and whatever.
Which I think the mix of the two kind of unbeknowingly always kind of go hand in hand, because that's how you think. A lot of different people like Johnny Cash and all of them, they also loved rock and roll. Yeah. So it kind of fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Like a hat on a hat, but the hat's long hair and the other one's a cowboy hat. So, you kind of pick the two.
Yeah.
So as you're learning to play and you're going through high school, do you just kind of keep the guitar rolling and then just try to get better and better? Do you ever perform while you're at school, or is it more just kind of a personal thing?
So I was playing with my cousin a lot. I didn't continue saxophone in high school till my senior year. And I picked it up again just because I was in the jazz band with my guitar, and every now and then there was a song where I could jump over and play the other thing, But I forgot what the main question was. Whether I was playing publicly.
Yeah, performing in high school. It's okay if you didn't remind me. I would have forgotten to.
I was playing guitar for my Aunt Brandy, and she had a band. And one of those days, she knew I'd learned Man Who Sold the World, and I had not played that for anybody. And she signed me up. And when it came, she's like, "Get your ass up there! Like, you're gonna do this. You're gonna do it right now." And I got up there, I sang it. I sang like crap when I was younger, but that was my first exposure to it. You know? And I loved it. It was like I'm a little bit introverted a lot of times, but that really kind of broke me out, and was just like I craved being on a stage and playing, and I just loved the energy that came from it.
It's one of those where the introvertness, because I get that too, where I don't care to talk or super interact. It's like I'm happy just being there. Like I'm fine. You guys can do your own thing. I'm over here. Yeah. But mine's similar to where when the camera's on, all of a sudden it's like, what are we doing? Like, what do you need me to do? Do you want me to make you laugh, cry, angry? I can do all of it. Just tell me what I need to do.
Which one you want?
Yeah. It's like I will pull out any performance you need right now. And after you get the taste, when high school ends, do you decide to go full force into it? Or after like a high school or a talent show performance, what was your first dive into it?
So when I got out of high school, actually, I was not going to play music anymore. I was going to have my guitars and stuff like that, but I was in love,
Yeah.
And just a series of things took place. I had seen something happen at the prison when I worked there. I was an office assistant, and I had seen a stabbing, and I won't go into detail on it, but it was pretty brutal. And then somewhere along the way, I had run into an old friend from high school, Jordan. His name's Jordan Black, and I played at a party. They had a guitar there. They gave it to me and I bust out a couple songs, and my buddy Jordan was really just like, "Man, Robert, you can't let this go. Like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to play music and sing." And it was at a pretty dark time in my life, and it was just the spark I needed to make me go, okay, yep, it's not working out. I just saw some dude get stabbed to death at the prison, and I'm really just like, what do I do? Because I don't really want to come back here every single day.
Yeah, see something similar or worse or whatever it is.
So I quit my job, started working at Domino's, saved up my money, moved to Fernley, got a job as an office assistant or an office tech for a roofing company. And I called up Anthony and was like, dude, let's play music. I moved to Nevada, and I want to start playing music again. And he did it. He left his girlfriend and moved, and we both just.
And he was coming from Susanville as well?
Chico. He was in Chico at the time. Yeah.
So both of you just came down and was like, "It's time. We're doing it."
Yeah, I finally had my head cleared up, realizing that I was with a person that just, she wasn't going to be with me anyway. But I was just wasting my time sitting in Susanville. And if we wanted to do it, we had to leave town. And, I left Susanville. He left Chico. This is after high school. So he had moved to Chico. I was out of high school, whatever. I don't know if I got timeline stuff right. But, yep, that's how it started. And it was a pretty long, shitty journey.
Sure, just to initially start and then think, well, what do we do? Like, what's,
Yeah, you got to have, that's the hard part. You do it because you love it, and you write songs, but then you got to figure out how to get shows. And, you can get shows, but it's like, how do you get shows that help you move the needle?
Yeah.
And I love playing open, Spike Night when I can, and I love doing all those things just because it's fun and it's a nice, authentic time. But the ultimate obstacle is, how do I finance a record that's at a quality that I am okay with, or that competes. If it's close to a high quality sonically, then there's people out there that'll like it. You just got to get it out there. Yeah. So then, how do you make money to market? How do you do? There's a lot of pitfalls, you know, and you run into people that have some kind of a supernatural ability to make you feel like you need them, which I only had one or two of those, and everybody else was great. But there's just a lot of holes you can fall in.
Right.
And then usually you fall in one of them and you quit.
Yeah. Nobody tells you the behind the scenes that comes from where it's like, just make music, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, you got to market, you've got to find the right shows, you got to get people to hear it, you've got to...
Yeah. And who's your audience? Who are you? Who is your goal?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a thought, you know, that most people don't have.
Yeah. Trying to find your niche.
Yeah.
You know, like what lane are you going down?
Yeah. And then figure out how do you create income, you know, and there's ways to do it online and all that, but ultimately until you have money for that, even that's hard to do.
Yeah, because the one line that always comes in, you've got to spend money to make money. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever really tells you that, especially when you just
your scotch.
Are gung-ho on a dream, right?
Yeah, I like that scotch. That scotch
I don't know how to say it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but...
No, you're good.
Dang.
We got this, and as we were talking before, not a big scotch guy, but the funny thing is my grandpa, it was either him or my dad. I can't remember exactly where I got it, but I had these glasses that were similar to, you know, these whiskey glasses that were shaped in a triangle and had a deer head on it like that. I was like, these are pretty sweet. I'm going to keep these and I'm just going to use them for whiskey. Had no idea that they ever meant anything, and then my birthday was not too long ago and somebody brought me that bottle of whiskey and I was like, that's where my glasses are from. Now I know.
Nice.
And I wish I had many more of those glasses. But going back to that, so having to find your niche, do you already have something in mind? Like,
you know, every time you sit there and try to imagine it beforehand and then try to like actually execute it, it doesn't work like that. I don't know how else to explain it.
It's like how life is, where you think you're on one path and you got to go.
Well, I think the trick isn't how good of a singer you are, or, I mean, you got to be able to write decent songs that, you know, have the thing to it, you know. It should line up to a click track or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But the real trick is to figure out who the hell you are.
Yeah.
And where you fit in there. And I'm not sure I've figured that out, but I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
But if it's not authentic first and about your songs and all that, none of the other pieces can be possible.
Yeah. Because especially when you're trying to figure it out, it's much like, you know, when you're a kid, you're in your early 20s or something, and you're like, man, I don't have life figured out. And you're fresh 20 or something, and you're like, man, I'm in this pitfall. I don't know how to get out of it. You're 20. You're still figuring life out.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever really stop figuring life out until you find something that you kind of grab onto, and you're like, I think I want to do this.
Yeah.
I think I like how this goes.
It does take a moment for, I don't know, our heads to come together too, you know.
Yeah.
We don't think right about it, you know.
No.
When I was in my 20s, I wanted to be a rocker. You know, I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to open for the big bands and hopefully someday be the big band. And it was all just the dream part, not the other part.
Yeah.
Just I'm just going to play and I'm going to be as good as I can be and something good will happen, you know. And it just doesn't, I mean, good things do happen, but that can't be what your thought process is.
No, you also have to be somewhat realistic about it. That's one of the things, like, my wife and I will get into, because she's more of the realist on things, and she'll focus on the money or how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that. I'm like, what do you mean money or how I'm going to do this? I just booked an acting role. I'm going to go do it. Yeah, but it's on a Tuesday at 11 and you're getting paid $30. I'm like, no, you've got a point. It's not very good. I probably shouldn't. And then when the other ones come in and it's like, what do you mean it pays that much more? Okay, go ahead and take the day off. Or like having to have that little bit that reminds you, oh yeah, you kind of have to live like a foot in reality before you keep chasing that dream and the plane just takes off and now all of a sudden you're in your car.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to be willing to eat shit that you didn't intend to eat, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I never wanted to be a, you know, cover band, which some people in the beginning we're like, oh, well, now they're a cover band, which we weren't. You know, there's a difference between a band that plays covers and then a band that is a cover band. But ultimately, there's no way to go anywhere without that aspect of it, you know.
Yeah.
And we figured out, you know, the fair circuits are very good as far as pay goes, you know, but they want cover songs.
Yeah.
So you put in, you do your best covers. We do like a Prince song and a couple others that everybody knows, you know.
Yeah.
But then we play our songs, you know. So we'll get the fair gig, and then in the contract we do an 80-20 split, where it's like we'll do 80% songs that you know, and we'll do 20% of our own material.
Yeah.
And they always go for that, but it's always the other way. Like, you know, it's 20% covers and 80% our shit, but we kind of interlace it all, and I don't think the buyers never. Well, I can't say this. Erase that. No, they never realized that we're playing our originals.
Right.
You know,
because especially if you come in, you hear "Hold On Loosely" or something coming in, and you're like, "Oh, this is great," and then all of a sudden it just kind of blends well because it's a performance, and you guys know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden people are like, "This is a weird version of this song." Huh,
yeah,
I'm digging it.
Yeah, and you bust out a Prince song, and all of a sudden, the next song that's yours, they're like, "Dude, these guys are great." Yeah. And then all of a sudden, they're willing to listen to you. But you play all of your own stuff all the time, unless you have like a screaming song that's going to go straight to the top the second you put it out, you know, all by itself. Nobody's going to like it. Unfortunately, they might be like, "Oh man, cool beat." But they're not going to have it stuck in their head. You know, it's a live performance. They're only going to see 3 minutes of something. They might have a line maybe, but like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought, actually.
That's right. It takes a bit to, like, when you're out and about going somewhere and a song comes on that you really know, everybody kind of perks up a little bit.
Yeah.
And they hear the song. And
somehow they can connect your talent to a song that they know.
Yeah.
And then it works out for the rest of the night with your own stuff, because now they've connected that, oh, these guys are good because they played my favorite, you know, my song.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that's pretty much it.
I think the point came across because it's exactly how it sounds. People are a lot of the times afraid of change, and they like what's comfortable and what they know. But then if you can kind of coax them into it, and they're just like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. They played my song that I love really well, and now, this doesn't sound familiar. This might be one of theirs. And then people will start to listen a little bit more and then kind of get a little more invested into it, and then you bank off that as it comes.
Yep, it kind of creates a synergy.
And which is what you need, like a rolling stone catches no moss, you know, and you don't want any moss on you. You want to keep going. Yeah. Want to keep picking it up. And while you're doing these fair shows, well, even before then, like once you guys know you want to do music, you want to get the band, does it start with just the two of you and then you think, well, now we got to go find a drummer? Did you already have something in mind, or, you know, like another instrument or somebody else to kind of add to it? Or was it just, it's going to be the two of us, we're doing this?
Oh, you know, we've had a few bands. We created a band called Silshota a long time ago, which, you know, didn't work out. But it's been Anthony and I for at least the last 20 years. And I started playing with him when I was like 14 or 15 years old. Yeah. I'm 37, and I got a gray beard now, and I still play guitar with him, you know. Yeah. But we went through, so many drummers, and then we finally got a friend who's also a producer, Scott Curtis. He played drums with us for a long time. The band wasn't really going anywhere. We were doing pretty good locally, getting the opening acts for shows coming in, but we didn't make a brand concept that was user friendly to crowds that weren't in a concert hall. Right. You know, our songs weren't that kind of friendly. They might have been good, but they weren't what they needed to be to make gigs.
Weren't in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that all fell apart, and then Twan and I started playing acoustic together. We did the acoustic duo for about 3 or 4 years. And then we met Dylan Secklin. And Dylan, he's a blessing. You know, he's been around 6 years now, but he holds down the drums like nobody. He's as solid as a rock, and he runs our bass player, who is no longer human. We run a click track in our ears, and our bass player, we call him Ernest.
Okay.
Because he's very earnest, and he never misses a note, and he is an iPad.
He's just there.
Yep.
Technically there.
Yep.
The entire time.
Yep. And we put his bass out through the PA and play to it.
He's the one that keeps you steady.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We don't hire bass players anymore. We've been through about 8 or 9 of them, and I do have a friend that I might, someday, if I have something great to offer him, try to see if he wants to come play. But otherwise, we're done with the search. We found him.
Yeah. Done looking. We're here.
Yeah.
And so as you were starting out, the same thing kind of what you were saying with like the cover songs, not to go back to it, but you start out doing, covers and things like that. Because, like, think about it now, too. Like, Luke Combs just came out with the song Fast Car, and that was a song that came out in the 90s. And so many people are like, man, what a good original song.
I know.
It's a cover song. But then again, that happens with a lot of things. Like, Tennessee Whiskey was a cover song.
Yep.
It's like you find things that people enjoy, and then you just give it to them. And you keep it going. And as you're doing the performances, do you have a gig in your mind or any performance that came up where as you're doing the cover songs you decide we're going to add one of our own? Or was it always just a healthy mix of both from the jump?
Yeah, we plan the sets out in advance. Just because everything's on a click now, it's not like we can ad-lib or anything. We can select the tracks in a different order or whatever, but try to think about it in terms of how many times I got to switch guitars from my acoustic to my electric. Twan's got 3 guitars on stage, and he's got to change on some. So we try to minimize that so that all the songs are grouped together, So then the covers also fit in there based on, what tuning. Is this one in drop? Because this guitar's in drop, and these songs are in drop. So they'll fit here. So that we got to run a 4 or 5 songs before I'm switching again, So it's really based on trying to be fluent on stage, fluency,
Do you have a favorite song that you perform? Like, as much as it's hard to kind of pick that, do you have one that you just love when it's that time?
One of my favorite songs to play live is Shoot Me Straight by Brothers Osborne. And right now my absolute favorite is All These Years by the Steelwoods. As far as originals go, we got some, depends on my mood, man. Like High Time is really just upbeat and burning, like lighting shit on fire and raising hell. And then like If I Do is really slow and kind of a ballad, and I wrote it to my wife. And it's just a slower,
it all varies.
Heartfelt song, yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite though, I'd have to say that If I Do is just because I love my wife. We just had a baby in February, and
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
He's
awesome.
my third boy. I don't know what I'm thinking though. One of them's 17, one's 14, and now one's 8 months. So
as well, you got him around.
I got him around, and I got one that's this far apart. Shit.
That's always fun. We've had it before where it's like that big age gap where you're just like, well, I got a new one now. Look at him. Isn't he cute?
Yep. He's very cute. He's very cute. He just started crawling. He's a little monster because everything's like, oh, what's that? And then he just crawls to it. It's hard to just keep an eye on him. But anyway.
Keeps you up at night.
I love it. Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I love kids, and the 2 I have are about to grow, so why not throw another one on the conveyor belt of life? Let's go.
Yeah, nothing wrong with tossing a new one in the mix.
Hell yeah.
Never hurt anybody.
Yes, sir.
So, for your songwriting kind of process, you said you've got all kinds of different balances. Do you have a certain way where you have to get into like a mindset to write songs, or is it as you're going along the day, maybe I can write something about that? Do you have a real process
it used to be like that. I used to actually have a guitar riff, and that's all I'd have forever. And I'd just try to figure out, like, what can I say to this guitar riff, you know? So I had a little bit of a crushing, so to speak. You know, I'd gotten crushed in a lot of ways. But when Sil Shota broke up, I went and did American Idol. I went pretty far in it, but the thing is that whole journey and all those little things that I had gone through at that time led to a man who flew me to Nashville and actually tried to help me get a record deal.
Nice.
He did a lot of great things, and I was an idiot, and I think I possibly screwed it up. But going up there and meeting real songwriters, I was told that my shit was a joke and I sucked. It was the worst. You know, I was told Sil Shota was the worst thing that they'd ever heard. So I didn't get a record deal. I went home, and it kind of spawned okay, well, how do we figure this out? And how do I write? How do I do this? And I learned a little bit more about lyric craft, and I'm still not that great, but I'm better than I was by a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not who I was, and I'm not yet who I want to be.
Yeah.
But
always growing.
Nowadays, when I write a song, a thought just goes boom, and I write it. Sometimes I'm in a car, sometimes it's, you know, on my phone, and I try to, like, speak it into a voice message, or and sometimes I feel it coming. I don't even know what I'm gonna write yet. Like, I can, like, actually feel it in my body, where I'm just like,
I've got something. It's here.
Like, a song is gonna get written today.
Yeah.
You know.
I hope you're ready.
Yeah, and I'll do it now. I'll sit down, bust it out in 15 minutes or so. You know, and if it dies down and it's good enough, I'll let it steep in my head for a little while, and I'll finish it in a few days. But it's all on an idea first.
Yeah.
You know, I used to start with the verse and just try to, like, break walls to get down to verse 2 and get into a chorus. And but if you actually have, like, the last thing in the chorus that you want to say and make it your hook, you can reverse engineer the whole thing from there. And if it's a good idea, you'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's not a good idea, sometimes you just leave it where it lies, and maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't.
Yeah, because you've always got to start with the hardest part is starting with the idea.
Yep.
And then you just work on it, make it grow. And
Yep.
then it turns into whatever it might turn into.
Exactly.
Have you had any that have come to mind that you maybe thought, we're going to go somewhere with this, and then it doesn't, and then all of a sudden you come back to it, and then it keeps going?
Yeah, absolutely. Wrote a song called Broken Down, and we could just never get it to feel right. And I wrote it, you know, like, it was all there, but it just didn't feel right. Something just felt like, not this song again.
Yeah.
And so it kind of went away for a long time. And actually, when we were recording in the hotels on the road, Dylan had an idea. He goes, what if we made Broken Down 6/8 instead of 4/4? You know, do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I started trying to play my guitar to it. And obviously, it's going to force me to change it up a little bit. Same chords, but a different pocket, basically. And man, it brought it to life again. It really did. It made it so much more interesting, because I write 3-chord Charlies, and then I got a friend that can shred the piss out of a guitar, and so it's always just been kind of I'll make this basic structure, and I'll focus on melody and lyric and nothing else. I'll just make the song nice and basic and focus on melody and lyric.
Yeah.
And then I let really good players come in around that very simple structure, and then they put complicated things on it. Anthony starts playing leads, and Dylan starts putting in cool fills and little accents, and and eventually it's a simple structure, but it's got complex nuances,
Things all around.
Yeah. It's nuanced.
It's got to start with a bass like a basic thing, and then it just pile on.
Exactly.
Keep it going.
Yep.
And with the songs that you've come up with, performing everything, do you have any favorite performances? Like either doing something on your own, opening for anybody? Do you have any couple favorites that come to mind?
I have one that's a personal favorite, and then I've got a couple that are wonderful. My old favorite was in Ellensburg, but this year we played a show that is either above it or close second, but it was unexpected because a lot of times you go play a festival, especially the big ones, usually your ass is getting sandbagged. They're going to stick you somewhere, and there'll be a few people that see you, but they're really not trying to help you.
Yeah.
In those terms. We went and played Rogue. We played the Rising Star stage. It was right next to the main stage. And on top of the beer garden, it had Eric Church, it had Carrie Underwood, it had Brothers Osborne, it had just crazy amount of awesome bands.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah. And lo and behold, man, we show up and we're right next to the main stage, So we're not getting sandbagged. It's actually the opposite of that. We're getting some really nice promotion here, being able to do this. And while we were playing our last show on the last night, we had there were probably 15,000 at the festival. We might have had 5 or 6 standing out right outside of our stage.
Wow.
Between the beer garden and the stage. Probably 5,000 or 6,000 people right there. All of them were watching us. All of them, they're cheering so fucking loud. I can't hear my tracks in my ears while I'm playing. It was just an experience I'd never had, and security would kind of let you through these gates, and you'd pop out with security, and people think you're somebody. And we weren't, but they don't know.
Yeah, they don't have to
and
know
so,
that.
security takes us through a gate, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, I'm going to take a picture with you, and sign an autograph. It was just dude, I've never had this in my whole life. And these crazy ass people, they don't even know who I am. They don't even know one of my songs. It's weird. Anyways.
But they're so excited.
As soon as we played that last set, dude, Carrie Underwood in all her glory with her sparkle ass dress and her hair done up, man, she walked out like the diva that she is. And it was right after we finished. It was right when we finished the set. I could see her off the front of my stage right there. And it was just I know I haven't made it. I know that, but damn, this is cool. Yeah.
You got Carrie Underwood in eyesight.
Yeah. I just played technically in a supporting slot for Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I'm going to state that every single time.
I helped her. She didn't need my help, but we helped.
We warmed the crowd up for her, man.
You're welcome. Carrie, you know who to call.
It was so cool, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
If
Was that one of the
opening act, that would be wonderful.
We know you're listening, Carrie.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
Yeah, you are.
We know you listen to this tiny podcast in Reno. Get in here. So, was that one of the bigger crowds that you performed for?
This year, yes. No, we Warren Ziders in Idaho this year. We it was about 6,000 actually. The bleachers were sold out, and yeah, it was unbelievable. And it's really funny to see what the when you actually get a close encounter with these artists, you do get to notice what a public persona versus a private persona is.
Sure, yeah. Because
it's not always something that you like, but I'm not going to go too far on that.
Yeah, won't have to name names on nothing, but a lot of the times putting on airs because you have to perform and you're kind of higher than life, and then you get off stage and people forget, oh, they're real people.
Yeah.
Or at least they do.
Yeah.
But
you either meet in the music world or wherever there's fame or not fame, or you're going to run into 2 types of people. They're either going to be rock stars or they're going to be artists.
Yeah. Where
one's for the glory and one's for the craft.
Yeah, or if they walk outside when it's raining, they may drown a little bit.
Yeah.
Which
this dude ripped his shirt off, and he was badass, but woo!
Shit didn't
Anyway.
stink when he came down.
Hell no. And his fans were crazy awesome. They were cool.
Well, at least you got something good out of it, so that's always fun. And you said you had another story. Was that your personal favorite gig? And you said you had.
I'd say
another one?
Rogue was my personal favorite. Our merch was right next to Eric Church's on the wall, and so was, the people at the festival loved us. Our sound was impeccable. I've never had sound that good in my ears from a tech. Usually we have to do it ourselves. And I'd say that was a highlight, especially this year. But, hopefully we'll be able to grow the apparatus and we'll find those more often.
Yeah, keep it going. You've already got a taste. You want to have a little bit more.
Yeah. And I got a baby to feed, man. I got kids to feed.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Got kids going
Get
on.
to
Buy
work.
the albums. Let's go.
Yeah.
Got to get the work going. And as you continue to go along, would you like a little bit more?
Yeah, I'll take a little bit more of that. I don't want to have to call my wife to get me home, but maybe I'll just go home and let my wife slap me.
If you read the fine print, that's what it says on the bottle. So.
Yeah.
We did the same thing because I told my wife I'd bring this here because I was like, it's just collecting dust at home. I'll bring it here. It's not really going to get sipped, and then
Yeah.
you get a little taste of it. You're like, ooh.
It can only get better for so long.
But I bought it
You know?
to enjoy it, so that's kind of why we got it here.
Very cool.
And a buddy of mine, the DJ for Pure Country,
Okay.
the one Jeremy McWigan, he was on the show. He actually made me these glasses in his garage one time. He
Hell
was
yeah.
like, you can't do your show and keep drinking out of a paper cup. And just kind of presented these to me one day. So now they are our little staple here. Check it out, Jeremy McWigan. But back to you. So with your performances, after you got that little taste, do you have I don't know how to say it, where it's like, do you have another inspiration to want to continue to do festivals in that way?
Oh, yeah.
Or what's kind of the next goal for you here, as a better way of saying it?
Well, I mean, the most recent goal is the single that's coming out. We're hoping to make some waves with it.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us
It's
a
going
little
to
bit
be a
more
little
about
bit
that.
controversial. I totally just railroaded you.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
Did I? No?
No.
Okay.
No, I was trying to
No,
find
as far as
a way
like
to
the
get
next
somewhere
thing that we
anyway.
want to do, I believe that we live in a time right now where we need to be American far more than we identify with the left or the right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Things are getting really serious, and we're probably going to see very serious things happening in our country because of it.
Yeah.
It's time to speak. It's time for us to speak, and we can't have the two-party system in a world where the tech is so advanced that it can polarize us to the nth degree.
Yeah.
It can create your own personal echo chamber on social media. We saw it 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, all of your own opinions echoed back at you constantly every day until you hear something that's opposite and
Why
explosion.
are you so upset all the time? Well, you just have the same thing coming at you the entire time.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
mean,
what makes you upset.
I can already see it happening right now. Like there's a wind-up taking place in politics again, and it's, almost November. Super Tuesday's coming. We got the new year, and it is the election year, and it's just like everything is ramping up again, and I can just see it happening all over again. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't be civil. I'm not saying we should, cause a revolution. But, dude, it's time that we exercise our freedom of speech and that we unite on the grounds of being American.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should alienate any group whatsoever.
Yeah.
But in the song, it's like, we're tired of your shit. And it's time to turn off the TV, time to unite as people, and it's time to speak with one loud voice to our government and to correct them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
That's great. I mean, for that, too, it's like when you talk about, as soon as you bring up politics, people get so,
Yeah, everybody's like,
one
What's
side.
gonna
And
happen?
it's like, why are we talking about this? It's like, when it comes to anything, I've always, not to dive into it, but to somewhat dive into it, it's more of, I don't care what side you are on, as long as you tell me the things that you stand for, and then if I agree, cool. If I don't, I don't. And then you just kind of follow. It's not for me personally, I've always just ran the middle ground where it's like you could be right, you could be left, whatever it is. If I agree with this standpoint, that's who I'm going with. If I agree with this standpoint, that's who I'm going with. But when you say I agree with this, then all of a sudden you're, pigeonholed in something.
of course.
And then it's like, why can't we just
There are,
agree and speak up and say what you need to say?
yeah. Yeah, and I have to be careful because there's things that I believe personally that might cause that, and I very carefully wrote that song to avoid those triggers
Yeah.
on either side,
Yeah.
to the best of my ability, yeah.
Yeah. As much as you can while still
Yeah,
trying
I'm
to.
still a human with his own thoughts and beliefs,
Yeah.
So
You want to be as honest to yourself, especially when it comes to something as vulnerable as.
Well, let's make it current. What do you think of Oliver Anthony's "Rich Men North of Richmond"?
I love that song.
Why?
Mainly the sound of it, and then also I am an electrician, so I work blue collar, and I see a lot of things where it's rich men don't really give a shit about the lower people, and it's like we're the ones that are helping build things up.
Yeah. Well, in the hook, "Rich Men North of Richmond." Richmond is about 50 miles. Oh no, it's about 100 miles south of Washington D.C. And that's the hook. Rich men north of Richmond. He's talking about them directly.
Yeah.
I like it. That's bold, and I love it.
Yeah.
Well, good. I think that his song getting 75 million views over the course of 3 weeks is a sign of where we are as people,
Yeah.
our country, where our mind is.
It also doesn't hurt that kid's got a stellar voice on him.
Yeah, of course.
Like, that's kind of what drew me in. Well, actually, one of the guys that I work with, he played the song, and as we're just sitting here listening to him, like, I like this.
Yeah.
I like what's happening.
Well, I mean, being able to do the part is like mandatory. Like, if you want to call yourself a whatever, you got to be able to do it, and you got to be good at it, But
Yeah.
being good isn't good enough. Like, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
I think the heart of what caused it really was the content of it. We got a lot of issues right now.
Yeah. And everybody gets divided on their own
Yeah,
bullshit.
I mean, pick a box and crawl into it. If you want to get on the transgender hill, fight, do it. If you want to get on the, I'm, not going to give up my guns and do that. If you want to, it doesn't matter what the conversation is. If it's coming out of the world, when you're looking at the world and what the world is saying to you, there's so many things you can choose to identify with, and you just fall right in it, and then that's where you stay. And then we can't come together on those on issues. That's got to change. We got to be able to come together again, because if we don't, man, we're actually not going to have this country much longer, and that's not an exaggeration.
Do you think about the thing, too, where so many people say people can't change their opinion on something? Where it's like, if you have one gung-ho opinion on something, and then you hear a little bit something else, and then maybe it's like, okay, I see that side. Or kind of what's kind of your take on that?
Well, when I was a little kid, my grandma Betty would give me breakfast, and if I didn't like it, she'd say, well, you're going to sit there till you eat it. And I wouldn't eat it. She'd put it in the fridge, and then later when I came back and be like, okay, Grandma, I'm hungry, she'd pull that cold food down and sit down and be like, eat that shit. And of course, you don't want to eat it, so you go hungry that day. But guess what happened the next day? When she served my hot food that I threw such a big fit about the day before, I ate it.
It was delicious.
Why do I tell that story? Because it takes an external reality to come down on you in order for you to realize that your fucking way of thinking is just a luxury that you have, because reality doesn't sit like that.
You're in your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can feed yourself all kinds of delusions, you know, and it's you. It's not me. It's not. It's what you choose.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that everything out there is a delusion, but if you identify with a movement more than you identify with yourself and your individuality, there's a problem here. And the real issue is that we have people that actually don't know anything about anything. And I don't mean that like they're not intelligent. I mean that in the sense that what we get told is a very small fraction of what isn't told.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're forced to base our opinions on it. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. You know, I can give examples of it. You know, I might get myself in trouble. I think the first thing that happened is I had a fascination with propaganda. I was fascinated with it, yeah. And then from there, you just kind of branch out. But you really start to see what's happening to us. The veil starts to come back a little bit, you know. What you see over here is gift wrapping. What you see over here is gift wrapping. And in the middle, they're both the same.
Yeah. It's just how it's presented to you.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. But on the lighter note about that, new single coming out.
Sorry. Yes, new single. Dude, the song is called Quiet Anymore. And I'll just, so like second verse is like, I'm having the worst brain farts, dude. You know what it is? It's red button syndrome. I know that thing's on. I know this thing's on. And therefore, I cannot think.
What things?
I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I'd rather sling the stone than retreat and see Goliath fall. You know, so it's about, you know, that's just out of the second verse. But then the chorus, it's like, we're all silent. Whoa, can you play it? Can you play the music? Do you have the ability to like plug her through?
I don't. I could put it on my phone.
Oh, no.
I mean,
the song's not out yet. It'll be out on the 31st. But anyways, it's just a song about coming together and exercising our freedom of speech wherever you are, like in your political leaning.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody should be told not to exercise their rights, but I feel like there's so many of us that just choose not to anymore because they're at least keen enough on these guys are full of shit. You know what I mean? Like the left, the right, these guys, they're just like vomiting crap out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And so because of it, they're like, the whole thing's rigged. It's fucking fake. It's rigged. So then they don't vote at all. You know, in the last election, we only had 40% of the whole country, 45%, less than half actually voted. Dude, I'm telling you, I think those people that didn't vote, they know where the state of the country currently is.
Yeah.
And so they just choose not to participate. But the reality is that we need them to, because they're level-headed enough to responsibly decide to step in and participate. Yeah.
Where they get that hint of bullshit and then think,
yeah, I
don't want to.
I think they're the silent majority, man. Yeah. And there's a portion maybe from both sides, but
yeah,
there's a silent majority in this country that loves to shoot guns, loves to whatever.
Yeah.
You know, loves to play video games.
That one thing where it's like, what's that shirt say? Where it's like, I hope my gay neighbors can buy weed and shoot guns whenever they want to.
Yeah, there it is.
You know, it's like,
well, yeah, because it's like, well, if you're my neighbor, what part of that interaction, if I see you on my first day, what part of our interaction means I have to go, hey, I have sex with women?
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, why do I even need to know?
Yeah, it's just like today, and then we high five. Like
It's like, it's actually not my business. And if you tell me, like, I don't give a shit,
yeah,
you know? And if we're going fishing or playing music or going out hunting or, like, how do I need to know that?
yeah,
You know, we don't need to know what other people think all the time.
yeah. We have a similar thing at my apartment complex because where we live, I'm a diehard 49ers fan. I love football, so we have like a little flag. My wife is too. So we have this thing out on the yard, and my next door neighbor decided to put a Packers flag out, and his wife's a Steelers fan, so they have stuff out. And then the upstairs neighbors saw that we did that, then they put something out. So then we all talk. As soon as we come walking out, one of the guys is like, "Oh, did you see the game?" And we just bullshit. We just have. I don't know anything else really about them. Don't really care. When we have nice interactions with each other, that's all it is. Like it.
So then when we go
Doesn't matter.
when you go throughout life with people that you know at surface level, like, why does this stuff come into our lives? Why does it become such a talking point?
Yeah. Why do you have such a spotlight?
What's
on
going on here?
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to cause it. And I mean, they've probably been here a long time and been just fine. And I almost guarantee you that as soon as it got all the extra attention in media, it got worse.
Yeah.
I almost guarantee that.
It would
Why
make
does
sense.
that happen like that?
Yeah. Once there's a shining light on it, then they just want to keep it going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Black Lives Matter been for the last 3 years? In the media, specifically.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, there you go. I can feel it. It sounds like daddy hit mommy at the dinner table. And everybody's still trying to eat their food.
But everyone's just listening anyway. It's like-
Yeah. I
it's
can
like-
feel the air getting just...
It's also, isn't this the food from last night? I'm starving.
Yeah.
Didn't
yeah.
Grandma say I had to finish this off?
Yep, I'm ready to eat, man.
You know what I mean? But on that note, just to kind of give a little more emphasis on, you've got the new song coming out, you've got the single, everything's going on.
Yep.
Before we do get you out of here, go ahead and promote social medias, when the song comes out, where people can find it, things like that, so we can get everybody kind of listening to it.
Okay, yep. You can find Huckleberry Road at huckleberryroadmusic.com or Huckleberry Road Music on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And the new song will come out on October 31st at midnight. Funny story, midnight is Eastern time, so it's actually about 9 p.m. here.
Oh, okay. The Eastern times.
Yeah.
Got to keep those in mind. But that's great. So it comes out midnight Eastern time, 9 p.m. here.
Yep.
And then we've got that going on. You guys heard it here first, so give the song a listen. Check it out. You guys know what to do for us over here. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, notifications, all of that fun stuff. Stephen Longley, Longley's Line, Lightstyle Studio. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you
it.
for having me, buddy.